In the past, there was an understanding by Southern auto workers, this is a good job, everything is good, and I just want it to stay the way it is. And it hasn't stayed that way. The auto industry in the South has precipitously declined.
We've got the huge update that Volkswagen workers have hit 50% card signed in Chattanooga. This is a very big deal. And this is, and now they legally have the option to go to management and request voluntary recognition and then file for a union election. And then if during the union election, the employer is found to have violated labor law, then that would make way for a bargaining order by the NLRB under the new CMAX ruling. But that's not what the UAW is saying that their plan is. What they're going to do is ask for voluntary recognition after they hit 70% of cards signed. So they are well on their way to getting that done. And so they are holding a rally this weekend in Chattanooga to talk about, to support the unionization effort. And this is just very, very big news. In The Guardian, there was a recent article by Michael Sonato about the Volkswagen's auto push. And like we just finished talking about with Dev, a big part of the reason that, there are obviously a multitude of reasons, right, that auto workers right now are gung-ho about the prospects of organizing. But a big reason is just the instability and the inconsistency and the lack of respect that these auto companies have for their workers and their willingness to violate the flimsy rules that they have laid down for themselves as it relates to, mandatory overtime and then the implementation of multi-tier employment and compensation packages. All of this has really, in the past, there was more of an understanding by Southern auto workers that this is a good job. I've got it pretty good. I don't want to rock the boat, and everything is good. And I just want it to stay the way it is. And it hasn't stayed the way that it hasn't stayed that way. The auto industry in the South, just like we talked about in Alabama, the trend is region wide. The auto industry has precipitously declined as it relates to working conditions for auto workers. And so, that is making the ground all the more fertile for organization. And these companies have no one to blame but themselves for their for what's coming. So, really excited to see some videos from that rally once they come out. I'm sure that it's going to be great. Also, new updates in Alabama. Hyundai workers have held a rally on MLK Day, talking about unionization, answering questions. They had UAW folks there answering questions. They had Hyundai workers there answering questions about why they want to why they want to unionize. And so that is their first, public foray with their union campaign. That's a very big step. I don't think they've hit 30% card signed, but they have gone ahead and, they're being public with their organizing campaign. And then in Mercedes, they hit 30% card signed a while back, and Governor Ivey immediately came out attacking them, saying that they are, the implication is they are either out-of-state interests or they are so stupid as to be, being controlled by out-of-state interests. And they don't know what's best for them, right? Because they have, as Kay Ivey says, high paid, and they're highly paid and highly skilled. So why do they need organization, right? And so the workers that are part of that campaign have not taken that lying down. They released a video where a lot of them talk about how this is really a worker-led organizing campaign. And from going down to Tuscaloosa myself and talking to these folks, that by all indications, that does seem to be the case. I went into the UAW office that's down there. I didn't see any UAW staff. I saw a lot of Mercedes workers that are there talking about the campaign and talking about how they are operating the campaign and why they want to be part of the campaign. So it's, obviously not, out-of-state special interests. They are not out-of-state special interests, and they are not being manipulated by out-of-state special interests. These are Alabama workers organizing collectively for, for their own gain and for the gain of their fellow workers and their community and their family. What's interesting is that a lot of the organizing, the out front stuff is being done by people who remember, quote unquote, the good old days, right? Of the people that I talked to, like 75% of them had been there for more than 20 years at this Mercedes plant. And then the rest of them had been there for over 10 years, right? And so they're wanting to be more out front because, they're more kind of secure in their employment than some people who have been there for less time. And they want to extend the benefits and the wages and everything that they have to the rest of the people in the plant. And then they also want to bring their compensation packages up to par with, what the UAW has across the country. Because there's no reason for them to be doing the same work and getting, tens of thousands of dollars less in total compensation. It's absolutely unjust and unnecessary because the money is there, right? As if you take a look at any of the profits of any of these companies, they're all in record profit mode. And amid these record profits, particularly galling at Mercedes, I think, is amid these record profits is when they instituted their second tier of employment. And so that, made people all the more angry that this is the time that you're choosing to do this. You're making more money than you ever have. And now you're choosing to pay people 20% less for no reason.
Right.
So really looking forward to continuing to hear updates and give them to y'all. I would recommend checking out Jeremy Kimbrell's article in Labor Notes. We threw out the old playbook, the new union drive at Mercedes. It's in labornotes.org. It's a really good article about how they are going about organizing, and how, the effort is worker-led, how it's not staff-driven, and some of the tactics that they're using. So, very interesting article, and could be instructive for people that are in similar situations.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in here real quick to echo that. I really recommend that article. Lots of good organizing advice. I think what you encountered in your interviews last weekend, what we're seeing is definitely a different approach than what has not worked in the past with some of these organizing campaigns in the South. And I also wanted to point out that it's very appropriate that the workers were rallying on MLK Day, because, there are a lot of disparities in this auto industry, right? And something we didn't touch on with Dev, but is mentioned in the report, is that Black auto workers in Alabama on average received 83 cents for every dollar that a white auto worker received in 2019. It was worse for Hispanic workers, 78 cents per dollar, and even worse for women, who earned just 73 cents for every dollar that men earned. And keep in mind, again, that, Alabama auto workers' pay is below that of other states, and it is below that of what it used to be. Right. So it's just, continued disparities, continued decline. And it's no surprise that workers are interested in organizing. And I think there's a lot of reasons behind that, as you alluded to. And some of it, I think, is there is a general militancy among working people coming out of the pandemic that, we haven't seen in some time. And I think the bold leadership in UAW and the renewed democratic leadership inside the union, I think that is definitely bolstering these efforts. And I think sometimes momentum, right? Getting wins, seeing wins, just like we saw with Starbucks, right? Once a few Starbucks started doing it, it caught on like wildfire. And now we're at hundreds of stores. Once the UAW pulled off their stand-up strike and won significant gains in these contracts with the big three, I think it gave a lot of juice to people. It gave energy, right? And that momentum, it's hard to quantify, but I think it's really important when it comes to organizing.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.